that racism is starting to be ramped up? Why is it that white people are more unhappy now that they've gotten everything they've wanted with, granted, gas prices is up, food prices are up, but, 300,000 black women have been laid off. The black unemployment rate is 7%. They got all the black people, the welfare, they didn't cut the food stamps. DEI has been repealed. They can go and be racist. They're giving a fund to the January 6th. Like, in theory, all of the racist things that Trump has promised them has come into fruition. All of the economic things, no, but all the racist things that they have been so excited to get, and they're deeply unhappy, and they are lashing out. They're driving up to black people, calling them. They're coming up and trying to intimidate black people. They are so unhappy, and they got the man that they wanted as president. Let me tell you why. It's because they got what they wanted, and the reality of what an abject failure a lot of them are is staring them in the face, and they can't stand it. They thought black people were going to get fired from these highfalutin jobs that these uppity Negroes didn't deserve, and they were going to, with their high school diploma, walk in and take a job that a black person with an MBA, a black person with a doctorate had. They thought that they were just going to walk in and become professors, wealth managers, investment bankers. They thought that they had to do that they were just going to open the door wide open for them because they were white, that the companies were going to open up the doors wide open. Meanwhile, companies are
all right, so let me give a little bit of context, because a lot of times people spew a lot of nonsense and it doesn't make sense to you. The majority of the reasons why, and it's a bevy of different reasons, but why different people voted the way that they voted, because nobody is a monolith, but the majority of the reasons don't even have nothing to do with black people. Black people was not the main character that people were focused on, but they didn't want people to focus on race. They wanted people to focus on policy. And as far as policy is concerned, that's the one thing that she's right about in this video. And she didn't mention some of the policies that was meaningful to people. Had nothing to do with black people. One of the biggest things that I've seen people were complaining about that did vote for Trump and that he did execute on was benefits going towards illegal migrants that wasn't supposed to be in the United States of America, that was taking up resources and was taking up jobs from people that deserved them here. All right. I don't know where she got this from as far as, they thought that for whatever reason, because again, let's remember that black people are still only 13.6% of the population, and a lot of the jobs that they do occupy has nothing to do with STEM fields, it has nothing to do with wealth management, has nothing to do with any of that type of stuff. The majority of the degrees that black women specifically were getting were liberal arts, and they were things that was unrelated to STEM field, finance, and somewhat healthcare, but all of this other stuff that she's saying is a false narrative. I don't see anybody running up and calling anybody the N-word. I think that diversity, equity, and inclusion, what people were saying was they don't want anybody to get disqualified based off of giving somebody else a position just because they were another race or just because they were gay or just because of all of these liberal.
I'll never forget the day a white buddy of mine said black people don't deserve equality because they could never get enough. And that's true. White people are actually scared of equality. That's just how racist we are as a people. And it's not just that one person. White culture in general. Probably I would say most white people, when they hear the word equality, they fear that white people will be oppressed because brown, black, and indigenous people might actually get what's fair and just. That's just how racist we are. And we're so obsessed with the idea of not having equality in America for black, brown, and indigenous people that we don't have health care, that we don't have economic equality. We don't have reasonable gun laws. Our liberties are being stripped because we have a fascist, racist, white supremacist regime in office because we are so scared of equality. We're so scared that black and brown folks might become the majority one day. That we had a black president, and now we've got to have a white supremacist president. That's how scared we are of equality. That's how racist we are as a people. Go to the fucking root.
Child, I was on TikTok the other day, y'all, and I can't even remember the post. But baby, I went to those comments. Y'all gotta go to the comments. Sometimes it don't all the way be that post. It'd be the comments. So fast forward, I go down in the comments, and this person said, she just knows in her heart of hearts that Black success, Black excellence is a direct pipeline to white racism. And baby, I had to pause. Because y'all know it's true. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, pisses racist white folks off more than Black success. Baby, you can set your watch by it. The moment a Black person shines, here they come. And baby, they be big mad. Look around. Shador Sanders, drag. Jasmine Crockett, attack. Stacey Abrams, undermine. Barack and Michelle Obama, baby, they been long gone and they still catching hate over being overqualified. Meanwhile, Donnie and them ran up in the White House with resumes of a used car salesman. Baby, nepotism at its best. Underqualified ain't even the word. But when it's us, baby, they gonna twist that story, twist that narrative, and tie themselves in knots trying to convince the world that we don't belong. And why though? Because deep down inside, they know, baby, they could never. We've done more with less. We thrive in a system that is built for our demise. And baby, they could never. That's why their brain short circuits with rage. That's why their comments overflow with vitriol. And honestly, y'all, I love that for us. I do. Because every time that rage gets out of hand is proof that our excellence is undeniable. So happy Black History 365, y'all. Keep shining, keep winning, because our success will always expose their mediocrity.
A Black man's success equals a white man's failure. White Americans are scared. They are held scared of the successes being bashed by Black people. The Black people all over the world, the Black people in America are doing what so many white folks cannot do. Not minding the slave of a thing that happened years back. They were able to get to their roots and they are doing extremely well for themselves. That is the reason why you see some of the whites, they are owing up to it, that they are scared. They are scared that these people will take over. They are scared that these people will start ruling. They are scared that these Black people will be the center of attraction, thereby pushing them, that is, pushing the whites aside, forgetting that everything boils down on that grace and that which you have in you. Some Blacks are making videos in all social media platforms, backlashing them. They were like, yeah, since that is what you guys want, you are getting it. Some whites are owing up to it. Saying the truth, it remains that we are scared. Yeah, some are owing up to it. Some of the videos you guys watched earlier on. Anyway, keep watching, guys.
Every time Black Americans take a step forward in this country, white supremacists throw a tantrum. We call it progress. They call it a threat. And every era of advancement, every hard-won inch toward equality has been met with a violent wave of backlash. So, let's talk about it. Donald Trump recently reposted a meme on Truth Social blaming Barack and Michelle Obama for worsening racism, saying they set America back 100 years. This coming from a man whose entire public life has been steeped in racism, from refusing to rent apartments to Black tenants in the 1970s, to calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, Black and brown teenage boys at the time, even after they were proven innocent, to spreading the racist birther lie that President Obama wasn't born in America. And now, in 2025, he's just proving that the playbook never changed, only the players did. When enslaved people were freed, what came next? Reconstruction. Black men winning elections, opening schools, building communities. And after that, the Ku Klux Klan, voter suppression, lynching campaigns, and the violent overthrow of Black-led governments across the South. Progress met with terror. I did make a video on Reconstruction a while back, so go check it out. When Black veterans came home from World War I in uniform, having fought for democracy abroad, white mobs murdered them for daring to expect democracy at home. That became known as the Red Summer of 1919. In one of the most haunting examples, a Black soldier named Wilbur Little was lynched in Georgia for refusing to take off his army uniform after stepping off the train that brought him home from war. He had risked his life for a country that still refused to see him as a man. And he wasn't the only one. Across the nation, white mobs attacked Black veterans simply for wearing their uniforms in public, because those uniforms symbolized equality. And then there's Tulsa. When Black prosperity blossomed in Tulsa's Greenwood district, a thriving neighborhood known as Black Wall Street, the backlash was swift and brutal. Greenwood wasn't just wealthy, it was successful on its own terms. Black doctors, lawyers, barbershops, grocery stores, newspapers, tailors, hotels, and a fully functioning economy built by Black families who were shut out of white society. Some residents were millionaires in today's dollars. All of it built just 50 years after slavery was abolished. Proof that Black excellence could flourish when given even a sliver of space.
Why do white people resent Black excellence? Let's talk about it. Not all white people are racist, obviously, but there is a specific subset for whom Black excellence seems like a personal affront to them, right? It really bothers them when Black people succeed. The 13th Amendment emancipated enslaved Black Americans in 1865, and then the Jim Crow laws kind of wrapped up with the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So if we do the math, that's about 61 years in which Black Americans were able to strive for success in any sort of meaningful way without like the constraints of the law pulling them down. 61 years. If we compare that to white Americans who besieged a land already owned and occupied by indigenous Americans, we'll put that around 1620 when, the Mayflower came here, then that gives them about 425 years to establish success in this country. 425 versus 61. If we compare those two fundamentally very different time spans, like how much did white Americans actually do in all that time? If we were to compare even the poorest and most underprivileged of white America to Black America generally, it is clear that white Americans are born way past the start line, right? By that I mean, by like nature of being white in American society, you do benefit from all sorts of privileges. And like, to be frank, you're not exhausted by the horrible experience of facing racism on a daily basis, right? You do have a ton of privileges. So I imagine existing in this bubble of privilege that you like totally deny, the existence of Black people for whom success is like second nature, when it comes so easily and so readily, even though you've only had 61 years to achieve it, I imagine that's exhausting and frustrating. I imagine it makes people feel super, super inferior and hurts certain people's tiny, tiny little egos. And what do they blame that deep, deep psychic pain on? Well, of course, DEI and critical race theory and affirmative action. So I guess the question is, what might help those white Americans who just so strongly detest Black excellence? Like, what will help you? And for that, I would suggest like a lot of therapy, like a ton of therapy. And I would also just suggest that we open the schools, right? We teach people history. Yeah, maybe? Okay. But
MAGA mind is
brand spanking new Lexus SUV. How is that possible? Integrate into the same neighborhood that I worked my entire life to get into. I don't understand it.
Why? Here's this guy right here in his brand new Lexus.
There he is,
right there. Right there. That guy right
it's
there.
what Make America Great Again has always meant to certain people. It's never been about patriotism. It's always been about hierarchy, about making sure Black people stay in a place that makes them comfortable. Because let's be honest, imagine living in a country where 400 years you receive every privilege available. Free labor for almost 2 centuries, millions of acres of free land through the Homestead Act, government assistance when Black folks were excluded, white veterans received GI Bills that sent them to college when Black veterans who served the country faithfully did not, white home ownership through FHA loans that Black people didn't get while Black families were redlined into poverty. There was affirmative action for white folks long before the phrase was ever even created. Let me name a few more. Tax benefits, union protections, government contracts, Social Security programs that originally excluded black labor, corporate subsidies, banking systems built on predatory denial of black access, policing designed to guard white prosperity, and the unspoken privilege of always being seen and deserving, and all that for generations. And yet here we are, after everything designed to hold us back, we still here. It makes them a failure. We're still educating ourselves, still building businesses. It makes them a failure. Still growing wealth, still buying homes, still pulling up in our Lexuses.
I only think a huge reason why a lot of white Americans are so resistant to the idea of like revolutionary change and black liberation and, you know, getting a system that isn't just built on the exploitation of labor and minorities. I think a huge reason for that is because like so much of white American identity is based around consumption and this lifestyle, this hyper-consumeristic lifestyle that we've developed, and the idea of superiority from that, of like, this will make you better, this consume and it'll make you better. And we don't really have like any faithful sort of many cultural traditions that aren't rooted like in white Americans in consumerism. Like pretty much all of our modern holidays are just consumerism, even if they originally had roots in like pagan traditions. And so I think it's genuinely really difficult for a lot of white Americans to find an identity outside of consumerism and thus to support true revolution.
Hey, I don't know if I should laugh. I don't know if I should cry for the sake of these white folks. Hey, anyway, welcome back again to this channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You see what is happening between the black Americans and the white Americans? Are you seeing it? This is just playing out. This is no longer hearsay. This is no longer what you heard someone say. This is actually playing out. These people are coming out to say their mind. These people are coming out to say, to say their experience, first-hand experience. You can imagine. You can imagine what is going on. You can imagine the Bible says that the heart of a man, the mouth speaketh. That is how their heart is. That is why they are now saying it. That is why the whites are now coming out to say, see, oh, that we are scared. Imagine. Go back and read the origin of the black Americans and see that they are not a soft meat. Like, these people need to be respected. These people need to be accorded some respect. Welcome back again to this channel. Subscribe to this channel. Drop a comment in the comment section and give